This is the Bay Area's news station. KRON 4 News at 5 starts now.
New at 5, KRON 4 has learned 2 California Highway Patrol officers killed in the line of duty near Fresno. Both have local ties. Officer Brian Law and Officer Juan Gonzalez at one point each worked here in the Bay Area. Tonight, we have team coverage on their tragic deaths and how they are being remembered locally. Good evening, I'm Pam Moore. Tonight, we will hear from fellow officers who knew the victims. First, Grant Lotus is here with details on how this all happened. Grant.
Yeah, Pam, the officers were responding to a crash here on Highway 99 in Kingsburg. That's about 20 miles south of Fresno. The officers were headed to a crash scene just after 6 a.m. this morning, and police say one of the people involved in the crash was actually on the road, a pedestrian, causing the CHP cruiser to swerve to avoid that person. The officer who was driving lost control of that cruiser, slamming into a signpost. Both officers were pronounced dead at the scene. Pam?
Well, one of the officers killed today got his start in the East Bay. Officer Brian Law worked at the Oakland CHP office. KRON 4's Justine Waldman tells us people there say their loss is hitting very hard tonight.
CHP officers had to put the black mourning ribbon over their badges. It's a move they never want to make.
Brian laid down the ultimate sacrifice to make sure that others could survive.
This time it is to remember Officer Brian Law, who worked at the CHP Oakland office for 5 years.
Brian was a great guy. He's definitely going to be missed. Anytime we lose an officer, it's hard, but especially when it's someone that you knew personally and that worked out of your office, it hits home. It definitely hits home.
Officer Sean Wilkenfield tells me Officer Law looked after him when he first started at the CHP.
He was just always willing to help. Even though you were the rookie, he was there to help you out and show you what needed to be done. He wouldn't let you drown yourself in paperwork. He was there to help you out, and that's what I remember most about him.
Officer Law is also remembered as a stand-up guy who loved sports and fitness and was the type of officer you would want responding to your call. Officer Law transferred to the Fresno office to be closer to his family, and as hard as this loss is on his fellow officers, they know his family needs the most love and support.
We just want to make sure that the family's taken care of and that everything that needs to be done is done to take care of him and his family.
Officer Law leaves behind a wife and 3 children. He was 34 years old. In Oakland, I'm Justine Waldman, KRON 4 News.
And Officer Juan Gonzalez is being remembered fondly by his CHP colleagues in the South Bay. Gonzalez was assigned to the CHP's San Jose office on Junction Avenue for much of 2010 and part of 2011. His partner for much of that time was Officer Ross Lee, who had only just completed his training. Lee says Officer Gonzalez was his mentor in those days and that the two worked side by side, often working the same detail in the same patrol car during the graveyard shift. We asked Officer Lee to share what he remembers of those days.
He was a great worker, very knowledgeable, very smart. I remember personally learning some of the things that I personally learned from him and took from him were the ability to kind of respond to a scene or any type of investigation, slow things down a little bit, and really take the time to develop some information instead of jumping to conclusions. He was very even keel, very calm. Never saw him lose his temper. Just a good guy all around.
Officer Lee stayed on in San Jose and works there today while his former partner moved on to the assignment in the Central Valley in order to be closer to his extended family there. Governor Jerry Brown today issued the following statement regarding the deaths of the CHP officers Brian Law and Juan Gonzalez. It says in part, he and his wife, quote, extend their deepest condolences and sympathies to the families, the friends and colleagues as they mourn the tragic loss of these dedicated public servants.